So what affects meaning making, right? So many things. And we today, because we only have 2 hours together, are going to focus on two of them, but there are many, many others. And so the first one is that decisions about how we analyze and display data affect what meaning is made from the data, right? And so to maybe explain that in different words, last time we were talking about things like theming or using spreadsheets to show the average of something or show the range of something or to count things, right? Those decisions we make about what are the themes that we're going to use. Are we going to use an average or are we going to use a median? Like, are we going to include quotes? Are we not going to include quotes? All of those kinds of decisions affect the meaning that we end up making from the data. So that's the first one. The second one is that different people interpret the same data in different ways, right? If you put something in front of all of us, we're going to each take something different from that based on our own perspectives, our life experiences, how we think about things. And both of these, number one and number two, are shaped by our perspectives and biases, both as individuals and, our communities, right? So the way that I'm going to interpret something is going to be different from the way that Libby interprets something, from the way that Deborah interprets something. And so we're going to explore these two ideas in particular today, but again, there are many other things that can affect meaning making. So right now, what we're going to do is focus in on this first one about how the decisions about how we analyze and display data affect what meaning is made from those data. So I'll pass it back to Libby to lead us through this.
Awesome. So within any data set, like the one you see on the page, there are many different directions that your analysis can take. So you can take a look at this spreadsheet and see that it's a data set that shows student enjoyment ratings. The grades that appear to be surveyed here are 5th and 6th for outdoor school, but also some high school student leaders, 11th and 12th grade. And the data set includes qualitative like quotes from the students as well. So looking at this as an example data set, we want to provide kind of a run through of how the same source data can result in a variety of different presentations and can show the analysis of that data in different ways. So in a moment, we're going to share 4 graphs with you, and then we'll discuss how the way that we graph that data and lay it out influences the meaning that you're able to take from it. So from this data set, we're going to, let's see. We're going to provide you with 4 graphs. I'll show you those in a second, but we'll also give you a PDF so that you can look at them independently from our slides. We're going to be asking what's different about how the data is presented in these 4 graphs, given that it came from the same source data, which you just saw in the last slide. We're going to ask what story does each of the presentations tell? And what do you notice about how these presentations affect the meaning that you're able to derive from each? So the first one is a bar graph showing the rating of how you would rate this experience on a scale of 0 to 10. The next summary shows the differences between high school leaders and 5th and 6th graders and breaks the enjoyment rating into these 3 color classes in each of the in each of the bars. The third says most students enjoy outdoor school, student ratings of their outdoor school experience. This is another way to arrange that same information. And then the last graph says 1 out of 10 students does not enjoy outdoor school and pulls out that 9% and provides a couple of quotes from those qualitative student responses that you saw in the first slide. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that that was interesting to you. We found it interesting because that's a real data set that we have access to. Our independent evaluator, Stephen Braun, does the student outcomes evaluation. And so those are 4 different ways of arranging student outcomes evaluation data.
I wanted to share one more insight, which came out of our own group discussion in preparing these graphs. One thing we talked about is that I find that there's a tendency for groups to look at what the majority have to say and draw conclusions from what the majority have to say. So a lot of folks would take this data set and say, you know, that 90% of students enjoy outdoor school. And one thing we really wanted to think about is the importance of those outliers who maybe did have a different experience. Probably everyone had some great things and some not so great things about their experience, but there were 9% who rated pretty low, and we just wanted to challenge the idea that in evaluation you should always just pay attention to what most people said. I think sometimes it can be really insightful and important learning to actually focus in on what the minority said, what the fewer, those who had a different opinion, what did they have to say about it. So we just wanted to make that point with this 4th slide.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for uplifting that, Deborah, because I think that we are trained from youth in public education to really put a lot of stock in the idea of democracy and majority rules, and what the majority says is assumed to be correct. And I think that uplifting the minority voices is becoming increasingly important.